3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V, carrying 2 American heroes, drawing a line to the stars for all of us.
Carrying 2 American heroes, let the space race begin. NASA's crewed Boeing Starliner just launched successfully after its 3rd attempt, a much-needed win for NASA and the U.S. space program after several shortfalls. This comes one day after China successfully left the far side of the moon, making them the first country to ever do so. The race to outer space really heating up between 2 global powers as both countries pour billions of dollars into their space programs. China has been more successful as of late, making great strides within the past 5 years. Joining me now to help me break it all down is Leroy Chiao, former NASA astronaut and former International Space Station commander. Commander Chiao, good afternoon.
Hey, good to be with you.
Good to have you here, sir. Break it down for us. What does this mean? We understand that China was on the far side of the moon yesterday and they collected samples, but we finally had a successful launch here on U.S. soil. Why is this so significant?
Yeah, you're right. And this was a much needed win for Boeing and for the U.S. Boeing, of course, building their Starliner spacecraft to help bring NASA astronauts to and from the ISS. SpaceX has already been very successful with their Dragon spacecraft, first carrying cargo for a number of years, and even astronauts for almost 3 years now. Boeing's spacecraft, plagued with a lot of problems and setbacks over the years, cost about twice as much as SpaceX's spacecraft to develop. But now finally they're on their way. So that's the good news. I know Butch and Sonny are very excited. They've been waiting many years for this launch, and it finally happened, and everything looks like it's going very well. Yep. China, as you pointed out, has been making great strides in space exploration over the last several years. Most recently, their spacecraft returning on its way back with samples of the lunar soil from the far side of the moon, something that's never been done before. And so this is a very important step forward. They've also been operating their space station, having continuous presence there now for a few years now of their own astronauts going to and from their space station. So both countries, of course, U.S. and China, have made announcements of sending astronauts to the moon. In the case of the U.S., of course, we would be returning, having been the only country to have sent astronauts to the moon before. But it'll be interesting to see who gets there first.
Commander Chiao, we know that conditions were favorable for this launch today, just a few cumulus clouds that might have posed a bit of a problem. But what are Butch and Sonny most excited about in this, and what are they thinking right now? What are they feeling? What are they experiencing?
Well, anytime you get into a brand new vehicle, whether it's a car or an airplane or a spacecraft, you're doing a test, right? So that's what they're doing. They're performing a flight test, and so they're going to be putting this vehicle through its paces and going through their procedures, logging all the data. Of course, a lot of that data logging is automatic, but we're going to learn a lot from this flight test, and they're hopefully going to be able to execute everything perfectly and come back from a mission, and then the United States will then have 2 ways to send astronauts, both on the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft and then hopefully now on the Starliner spacecraft.
Commander Chiao, I've got less than 30 seconds, but we see the billions that both countries spend on this space race. Is it worth it for the United States to stay in the game and win this fight?
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, a nation gets involved in space exploration, and especially human space exploration, for national prestige. This is a demonstration of our leadership in technology and abilities. And if you look at the numbers, yeah, they look big. They are big. But when they're compared to the actual overall budget of the United States, for example, I mean, we're talking about less than 1% of our U.S. budget spent on space exploration.
Commander Chiao, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.